Reading of Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. Commentary by the Word Witch. Blood Scent. In the tale, the sister slams shut the door to the killing chamber. The young wife stares at the blood on the key. A whimper rises within her. I must scrub this blood off the key or he will know. Now the naive self has knowledge about a killing force loose within the psyche, and the blood on the key is women's blood. If it were only blood from having one's frivolous fantasies sacrificed, there would be but a nick of blood on the key. But it is so much more serious. For the blood represents a decimation of the deepest and most soulful aspects of one's creative life. In this state, a woman loses her energy to create, whether it be solutions to mundane matters in her life, such as school, family, friendships, or her concerns with compelling issues in the larger world, or with issues of spirit, her personal development, her art. This is not a mere procrastination, for it continues over weeks and months of times. She seems flattened out, filled with ideas perhaps, but deeply anemic and more unable to act upon them. The blood in this story is not menstrual blood, but arterial blood from the soul. It not only stains the key, it runs down the entire persona. The dress she wears as well as the gowns in her wardrobe are stained by it. In archetypal psychology, clothing can personify the outer presence. The persona is a mask a person shows to the world. It hides much. With proper psyche padding and disguises, both men and women can present a near-perfect persona, a near-perfect facade. When the weeping key, the crying question, stains our personas, we cannot any longer hide our travails. We can say what we like, present the most smiling facade, but once we have seen the shocking truth of the killing room, we can no longer pretend it does not exist. And seeing the truth causes us to bleed energy even more. It is painful. It is artery cutting. We must try to immediately correct this terrible state. So, in this fairy tale, the key also acts as a container. It contains the blood, which is the memory of what one has seen and now knows. For women, the key always symbolizes entrée to a mystery or into knowledge. In other fairy tales, the symbolic key is often represented by words such as "Open Sesame," which Ali Baba shouts to a ragged mountain, causing the entire mountain to rumble and crack open so he can pass through. In a more picturesque manner, at Disney Studios, the fairy godmother in Cinderella chortles "Bibbity Bobbity Boo," and pumpkins turn into carriages and mice into coachmen. In the Eleusinian mysteries, the key was hidden on the tongue, meaning the crux of the thing, the clue, the trace could be found in a special set of words, or key questions. They hate when I ask questions, bitch. Because I ask the right questions. It's like when someone's attempting to take you down a labyrinth with a bunch of different corridors in the dark. And every time you turn the corner, you just keep turning the light on. Ask the questions. And the words women need most in situations similar to the one described in Bluebeard are, what stands behind? What is not as it appears? What do I know deep in my ovarius that I wish I did not know? What of me has been killed or lays dying? Any and all of these are keys, and if a woman has been leading a half-dead life, the answer to these 4 questions are very likely to come up with blood on them. The killing aspect of the psyche, part of whose job it is to see that no consciousness occurs, will continue to assert itself from time to time and twist off or poison any new growth. It is its nature. It is its job. So in a positive sense, it is only the insistent blood on this key which causes the psyche to hold on to what it has seen. You see, there is a natural censoring of all negative and painful events that occur in our lives. The censoring ego most certainly wishes to forget it ever saw the room, ever saw the cadavers. This is why Bluebeard's wife attempts to scour the key with horsehair. She tries everything she knows, all remedies for lacerations and deep wounds from women's folk medicine, cobwebs, ash, and fire, all associated with the weaving of life and death by the fates. But not only does she fail to cauterize the key, neither can she end this process by pretending it is not occurring. She cannot stop the tiny key from weeping blood. Paradoxically, as her old life is dying, and even the best remedies will not hide that fact, she is awake to her blood loss and therefore just beginning to live. God, she wrote that. She wrote that. All endings equal new beginnings. Absolutely. And if you want to live, you got to live within the truth of what you know. Back to the reading. The formerly naive woman must face what has occurred. Bluebeard's killing of all his curious wives is the killing of the creative feminine, the potential that develops all manner of new and interesting life. The predator is particularly aggressive in ambushing woman's wildish nature. At the very least, it seeks to scorn, and at the most to sever a woman's connection to her own insights, inspirations, follow through, and more. I'm going to read that again. At the very least, it seeks to scorn, and at the most to sever a woman's connection to her own insights, inspirations, follow through, and more. Another woman I worked with, an intelligent and gifted woman, told me of her grandmother who lived in the Midwest. Her grandmother's idea of a really good time was to board the train to Chicago and wear a big hat, and walk down Michigan Avenue looking in all the shop windows and being an elegant lady. By hook or by crook or by fate, she married a farmer. They moved out into the midst of the wheatlands, and she began to rot away in that elegant little farmhouse that was just the right size, with all the right children and all the right husband. She had no more time for that frivolous life she'd once led. Too much kids, too much women's work. One day, years later, after washing the kitchen and living room floors by hand, she slipped into her very best silk blouse, buttoned her long skirt, and pinned on her big hat. She pressed her husband's shotgun to the roof of her mouth and pulled the trigger. Every woman alive knows why she washed the floors first. A starved soul can become so filled with pain, a woman can no longer bear it. Because women have a soul need to express themselves in their own soulful ways, they must develop and blossom in ways that are sensible to them and without molestation from others. In this sense, the key with blood could be said to also represent a woman's female bloodlines, those who have gone before her. Who among us does not at least know one female, one loved one, who has lost instincts to make good choices for herself and was forced therefore to live a marginal life or worse? Perhaps you yourself are that woman. One of the least discussed issues of an individuation is that as one shines light into the dark of the psyche as strongly as one can, the shadows where the light is not grow even darker. So when we illuminate some part of the psyche, there is a resultant deeper dark to contend with. This dark cannot be let alone. The key, the questions cannot be hidden or forgotten. They must be asked, they must be answered. The deepest work is usually the darkest. A brave woman, a wizening woman, will develop the poorest psychic land, for if she builds only on the best land of her psyche, she will have for her view the least of what she is. So do not be afraid to investigate the worst. It only guarantees increase of soul power through fresh insights and opportunities for revisioning one's life and self anew. It is in this psychic kind of land development that wild woman shines. She is not afraid of the darkest dark. In fact, she can see in the dark. She is not afraid of offal, refuse, decay, stink, blood, cold, bones, dying girls, or murderous husbands. She can see it. She can take it. She can help. And this is what the youngest sister of the Bluebeard tale is learning. The skeletons in the chamber represent in the most positive light the indestructible force of the feminine. Archetypally, bones represent that which can never be destroyed. Stories of bones are essentially about something in the psyche that is difficult to destroy. The only thing that we possess that is difficult to destroy is our soul. When we talk about the feminine essence, we're really talking about the feminine soul. When we talk about the bodies scattered in the cellar, we're saying something has happened to the soul force, and yet, even though its outer vitality has been taken away, even though life has essentially been wrung out of it, it has not been destroyed utterly. It can come back to life. It comes back to life through the young woman and her sisters, who ultimately are able to break the old patterns of ignorance by being able to behold a horror and not look away, they are able to see and to stand what they see. Here we are again at La Loba's place, at the archetypal bone woman's cave. Here we have the remnants of what once was the full woman. However, unlike the cyclical life and death aspects of the wild woman archetype, who takes the life that is ready to die, incubates it, and hurls it back into the world again, Bluebeard only kills and dismantles a woman until she is nothing but bones. He leaves her no beauty, no love, no self, and therefore no ability to act in her own behalf. To remedy this, we as women must look to the killing thing that has gained hold of us, see the result of its grisly work, register it all consciously, and retain it in the consciousness, and then act in our, not its, behalf. The cellar, the dungeon, the cave symbols are all related to one another. They are ancient initiatory environs, places to or through which a woman descends to the murderous ones, breaks taboos to find the truth, and through wit and or travail triumphs by banishing, transforming, or exterminating the assassin of the psyche. The Bluebeard tale lays out the work for us with clear instructions. Track the bodies, follow instincts, see what you see, call up psychic muscle, dismantle the destructive energy. If a woman does not look into these issues of her own deadness and murder, she remains obedient to the dictates of the predator. Once she opens the room in the psyche that shows how dead, how slaughtered she is, she sees how various parts of her feminine nature and her instinctual psyche have been killed off and died in a lowly death behind a facade of wealth. Now that she sees this, now that she registers how captured she is and how much psychic life is at stake, now she can assert herself in an even more powerful manner.